Whenever I've batted, as soon as from the earliest days I can remember, whenever I've picked up a bat, I've always just wanted to belt the ball as far as I can. That's always sort of been how I've gone about my cricket. Ever since I've been at the club, we've had a phenomenally strong batting lineup. It's been it's almost set the standards around the world. Some of the scores we've had here and the way guys have gone about their business. So it was a really strange one. There was points where we didn't think where we thought we wouldn't even play any cricket. But I've always enjoyed playing in front of the big crowds and enjoyed the buzz and pressure that T20 cricket brings.
Alex, as we sit here, that you're on the verge of your 300th appearance in T20 cricket. Is that a kind of landmark you ever saw yourself reaching?
If you'd asked me that 15 years ago, I'd have definitely laughed. But yeah, I guess that's a lot of cricket. It makes me a bit of a sober up for how old I am now. Definitely a veteran of the game. But yeah, T20 is a game of cricket I love and always have done. For my first ever game as a youngster playing it at my club, it's always been a format that I fell in love with. So yeah, to play that many is a huge honour, and hopefully I've got a lot more to come as well.
I was looking back to your early T20 games here at Trent Bridge and coming into a dressing room with the likes of Dave Hussey in there, Chris Reed, Samit Patel, Paul Franks. What was that experience like as someone at the start of their career going into that dressing room?
Amazing, yeah. Notts has always had a huge number of international stars, side bottom as well, and Stuart Broad as well when I first joined the club. So having all those huge names around was, it set my goals high, and I was desperate to achieve what they'd achieved in the game. So to come to a club that's so rich in history and always producing world-class players was a great stepping stone for me and gave me the best opportunities in my career.
As someone coming into that side as an opener, was there a pressure there? If the captain wins the toss and bats, you're straight out there in the middle with those players in the dressing room?
I think so. I think the role as an opener is huge in T20 cricket. It's almost your job to assess the conditions straight away and try and figure out what's a good score and what the pitch is going to be like through the middle overs. So there's a big responsibility that comes with opening the batting, and it's something I've really enjoyed over the years.
Was that the role you always wanted in T20 cricket?
Yeah, as soon as I turned professional, when I was a youngster, I used to bat sort of in the middle order and bowl a little bit as well. But the bowling days slowly got eased to the back of the queue, and batting just kind of took over sort of in my late teens. As soon as I signed my first professional contract at the MCC Young Cricketers, I knew that I wanted to open, especially in white ball cricket.
Over those kind of 10, 11 years that you've played T20 here at Trent Bridge, it seems like par scores, the way people score, all those sorts of things have changed quite considerably. Can you remember how your approach was maybe when you were starting out?
Rewinding the years a long way back there, isn't it? Whenever I've batted, as soon as from the earliest days I can remember, whenever I've picked up a bat, I've always just wanted to belt the ball as far as I can. That's always sort of been how I've gone about my cricket throughout the years. So yeah, I guess, and coming to Trent Bridge where the par score has always been really high, I guess it kind of played really well into my hands. More often than not, we get a great batting surface here, so suited the way I play really well. So I guess things just kind of took care of themselves from the good pitches and my natural instincts.
And with the way the game has evolved in that 10 years, do you find yourself facing different bowling now? It feels like people use a lot more different tricks than maybe they would have done a decade ago.
100%, yeah. The game's changed so much and it's still developing now at a rapid rate. Bowlers are so many more new deliveries being invented, knuckleball, slower ball bouncers, stuff you wouldn't really see maybe 10, 15 years ago. So, people say that, I guess that the last 10 years it has been a batter's game, but I think the bowlers are definitely catching up.
As someone who's out there at the start of the innings, the power play is kind of your domain, if you like. How do you go about approaching that section of the game, maybe as opposed to if you're in a little later on?
I guess I wouldn't really know a huge amount about walking in the middle overs. I've always sort of tend to have been set once the field goes out, but it's definitely the place to bat for me. It's really enjoyable. There's only two fielders out in the boundary, so you feel like if you beat the infield, you get great value for shots. It's something that's suited to my game. And death batting so difficult. Having been there at the end in the last few games, it really is a difficult skill to master. So a lot of respect for those guys who come in at the end and belt it everywhere. Because when there's fielders on the boundary, it's a lot harder.
I was looking as well at some of the people you've opened the batting with here at Trent Bridge. Your opening partners, the likes of Michael Lum, Ricky Vessels, on to Chris Nash and Joe Clark more recently as well. What is it that makes an opening partnership in T20 really click, do you think?
Yeah, like those names you've reeled off there have been outstanding for Notts. I think all of them, like myself and all the guys you mentioned, all have very different styles of batting. Obviously, you've got Lummy, who was a left-hander, and Ricky, who would hit the ball in really unorthodox areas. And I think we were two very different players, which can be very difficult to bowl at, especially on a flat wicket like you've got here. So I think the differing styles of two opening batters, I think, is really important in having a good partnership.
Is there any you've particularly enjoyed, maybe not just opening, but batting with out there in the middle in T20?
Everyone at Trent Bridge. We've had, ever since I've been at the club, we've had a phenomenally strong batting lineup. It's been it's almost set the standards around the world. Some of the scores we've had here and the way guys have gone about their business. So everyone at some point has been enjoyable, but particularly the last 2 years, Joe Clark, watching him go about his business. It's been unbelievable. I think the world's at his feet for the next 2 years. I think he's striking for knots at around 180, 190 the last 2 years. So, there's a few times I've been stood at the other end thinking, wow, this bloke's got something special. But there's been great memories with loads of different people here. Too many to reel off now.
Now, it's not just been about playing at Trent Bridge, of course. You've taken your game around the world, most recently, I suppose, in the Big Bash in Australia, taking the Golden Cap last winter. What does playing over there demand maybe from you that's different to opening out here? I
think it's fairly similar. It's fairly similar conditions. The pitches, you probably maybe get a little bit more bounce in the pitches over there, and the grounds are a little bit bigger. It's a really good place to play cricket. Every game has a different challenge because of the ground I mentioned. A lot of them, some of them are really narrow and long, then others are wide and short straight. So I think you have to be able to score all around the pitch to be successful over there. So to have scored runs in the last couple of years there is really pleasing, and hopefully I get another chance in the next few years to go over there and hopefully keep that form up.
Yeah, and I mean, aside from that, you've obviously played in the Caribbean, won titles PSL over the last year or so. Do they demand different things? Because I suppose the conditions there must be slightly more alien to English conditions.
Yeah, I think every country you go to demands something slightly different, which I think can be the difficult thing of being just a franchise player. Is more often than not you're playing in foreign conditions. You're away from home in most of the tournaments you play in. So you always have to be tinkering with different things in your game that work in different countries in different conditions.
How do you deal with that, I suppose, pressure as well of being overseas? We see it when the likes of Dan Christian and Imad have come over here. There's almost an expectation that as an overseas player, I suppose you're going to bring something a little extra.
Of course, yeah, I think that's part and parcel of being the overseas player, and it's something I've just always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed playing in front of the big crowds and enjoyed the buzz and pressure that T20 cricket brings and all cricket brings, to be honest. I've always found that the more pressure and the bigger the occasion, it's something I've really enjoyed in my career, and I think that's a good trait to have as a professional cricketer.
Are there things from those overseas comps that you can bring back to Trent Bridge as well when it's back to blast time?
As I said, there's always certain things you're looking to tinker with in different countries, but the one thing that stands out in different franchises is trying to have a really good relaxed environment. I think that's really key to guys performing their best in T20 cricket, is not feeling that pressure of playing a false shot and people getting agitated with you. It's all about relaxed and creating an environment where people can flourish out in the field, and I think that's something we've got at Notts and that most franchises have now in world cricket.
And of course, 2 titles in the blast here with Notts over the last few years. Let's take a quick look at 2017 in the first instance, I suppose. How special was that achievement, particularly for a team who had made quarters and semis in the years before, but then went on to do the business in 2017?
Yeah, that year was just awesome all round, to be honest, especially in white ball cricket. So many times we could have lost games. We had our backs to the wall in so many fixtures, and we came out on top in the 50 over comp and the T20. So that was an unbelievable year. The pitches here were like nothing we'd ever experienced. Like, teams were getting 220 and we were chasing it down with an over to spare. So it was just carnage all year, and a hugely special year, and I think one that will be remembered for a very long time at this club.
Yeah, there were big totals that year. Even when teams were making 200 odd, was the feeling in the dressing room still that was a chaseable score that
100%,
season?
Yeah, I really felt for the bowlers, especially at the start of the tournament. We fielded first in quite a lot of games, and as I said, teams were getting 200 plus, and you could see the bowlers were getting a bit deflated. But after sort of 3 or 4 games where we'd knocked those scores off, you could see them, that they were actually doing a good job, and it was just the unbelievable conditions we had here at Trent Bridge to bat in, and it was just it was an awesome year, especially as a batter.
And how special was that day at Edgbaston, a year on from a semi-final exit, to get over the line?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, like I said, we had our backs to the wall in the final as well, and the guys put a huge performance in. I think it was Brendan and Samit got the runs that day when we had our backs to the wall and were wickets down early. So for them to rescue that momentum and take us into our fielding was awesome. And yeah, it was just, as I said, it was just a year where everything fell into place and went really well.
And how did last year compare in the end? I suppose not the first T20 title he won, but a strange one in the circumstances we all lived through last year.
It was a really strange one. There was points where we didn't think where we thought we wouldn't even play any cricket. So to get out and play, almost a full competition was awesome. It was very strange playing in empty stadiums. It was very difficult to get energy off the atmosphere, which you get so well at Trent Bridge with all the fans that we attract to our games. So it was a very different feeling, but it didn't take away anything from the feeling of winning the trophy. It was awesome, especially in a year where there wasn't a huge amount of cricket played around the world. So for us to play and win a trophy was still awesome.
Yeah, was there still a feeling you were doing it for the people who weren't able to sit in these seats, I suppose? That's
100%, yeah, there definitely was, and we spoke about that a lot in the changing room, and it highlighted how awesome the stream was as well, because we were getting messages of guys who were saying, guys and girls who were saying how good the stream was and that everyone was following it. So we definitely knew that we were being watched and supported from home.
And it seemed like a lot of those wins last year came with overs to spare as well. Chasers being knocked off maybe in 16th, 17th overs here at Trent Bridge. Is that a deliberate approach that the team was conscious of taking last year?
Not really, no. I think if you just look down our batting order, everyone's natural instinct is to just go out there and belt it and play with freedom, and that's something we try and encourage guys to do. Don't get on top of people if they make mistakes. We want people to bat freely and bat with aggression and put teams under pressure. And if last year was awesome because we were winning games, with, as you said, with 16 and 17 overs gone. So it's not something we go out intentionally to do. It's just everyone's natural instinct to be aggressive.
And as we sit here now, 299 T20s down, it puts you top of the Outlaws run scoring charts. I think the leading Englishman in T20 cricket in terms of batting as well. What is it that drives you on in this sort of next phase of your career?
I guess wanting to score as many runs as possible and winning trophies. Now I'm 32, it's made me realise how short your career is. I'm in the twilight, well, not the twilight, I feel like I'm in the peak of my career, but the next few years it's obviously heading into the twilight. So it just makes you hungry to win trophies and hungry to really make the most out of your talent and ability. And it's something I'm still trying to do, is get better and better as the years go on. And T20 can be a game of experience, where experience counts towards winning trophies and performing well. So I'm still looking to improve and feel like I'm still getting better with each day. So just a hunger to score runs and win trophies.
Does sitting top of those lists drive you on as well, I suppose? Look at the calibre of the Outlaws or the English players who've also played the game that you're leading those charts at the minute. 100%,
yeah, it's definitely something. When you look back on your career, you want to have records and be at the top of lists. That's the competitive nature of sport, and something that's always been with me is that that real competitiveness. So it's definitely something that motivates me is to keep trying to lead those charts.
Well, we hope there's plenty more T20s out here to come.
Fingers crossed. Thanks.
Cheers.